Is fashion art? That question has been argued over for decades, and depending on who you ask, you'll get a completely different answer. Some designers will disagree. Others have spent their entire careers trying to blur that line completely. Today, I'm talking about two designers firmly in that second camp. And back in February, I went to see their exhibition at the High Museum in the beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia. I filmed every single room in the exact order I walked through it, so we're gonna go room by room. Hello, my fashionable friends. Welcome back to Fash Talks. So, this exhibition was on Viktor and Rolf. That is the Dutch haute couture duo, Viktor Horsting and Rolf Snoren. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It has since closed, it's been a while, but I've got footage from start to finish. So, today I want to actually walk you through it the way I experienced it, room by room, collection by collection. Before we start the tour, let's set up the big question because it's basically the thesis of this entire exhibition, I think. Victor and Rolf don't just make fashion, they call themselves fashion artists. That is the actual term they use for themselves. And that can be considered a bold claim because there are some designers that would definitely say that fashion is not art. Designers like Rei Kawakubo and Rick Owens have both said at different points that what they do not consider it art, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, even if it's the wrong one. I'm just kidding, mostly. But Victor and Rolf, they lean all the way into it instead. Their process tends to start with a concept first, a single idea, and only then do the designs and the execution get built around it. And across their collections, they've used photography, video, installations, sculptures, basically any medium that gets the concept across. Fashion is just one tool in the box. So keep that question in your back pocket because it will follow you through literally every room of this exhibit. Okay, so you walk in, and the entrance itself is a full replica of their upside down flagship store, the real one in Milan on Via Sant'Andrea in the Quadrilatero d'Oro. It's built upside down, disorienting in the best way. Please tell me that my college Italian came through, y'all. I tried my best. But in that store, you'll see a piece from the collection that the store is named after, Upside Down, from their ready to wear spring summer 2006 line. These are gravity defying dresses. The pieces were constructed using Hans boot mannequins to build 3D printed forms underneath, giving the garments a physical volume that they couldn't otherwise hold with the models' bodies, per se. So, this whole thing is a playful, surreal jab at the absurdity of the fashion world, which, as an opening statement before you've even gotten through the real first room, tells you exactly what kind of exhibit you're in for. Okay, so this first actual room is dedicated to the Russian doll Haute Couture Fall Winter 1999 collection. I'll talk a little bit more about the dolls towards the end of the video, but this is widely regarded as one of the most original haute couture shows ever staged, and it really catapulted Victor and Rolf into the haute couture world. You can really understand why based on this footage. It's absolutely stunning. If you've never heard of it, I would highly recommend going down that rabbit hole after this video. So first up in this next room is L'apparence du vide, the appearance of emptiness. Yeah, my French is not good. I'm so sorry if that was bad. But this is from the spring summer collection of 1996. There are 5 gold polyester outfits hanging suspended from the ceiling, while 5 matching black pieces sit flat on the floor directly beneath them, built to look like the shadows of the pieces above. It's such a simple idea executed in a way that really stops you in your tracks. And then there's the On Strike Fall Winter 1996. And I love this story because at this point, Victor and Rolf were so frustrated with how little recognition they were getting in the fashion world. So they did something very absurd. They declared themselves on strike. They printed out posters and plastered them around the city of Paris, announcing this strike. And unfortunately, nobody cared. It's considered a fail, but it's also such a perfect snapshot of two designers who are willing to make the protest itself the art piece. And also in this room is the No collection of Fall Winter 2008, another one that leads into that same provocative statement first energy that this room is built around. So tucked off to the side here between this room and the next is a single display, which is the wedding dress designed for Princess Mabel of the Netherlands for her marriage to Prince Friso van Oranje Nassau. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. But after 2 full rooms of striking conceptual confrontational work, it's a nice reminder that for all of the art school energy of their collections, they're still working couturiers who dress real people. Now, this next room might be tied for my favorite room in the entire exhibition, second only to the room at the very end that I will show you guys. But in this room is the wearable haute couture Autumn Winter 2019 collection, and the concept is exactly what it sounds like: wearable paintings. They built canvases out of jacquard fabric, white crepe, and natural linen, stitched them onto the wooden frames covered in gold fabric, and then added embroidery and applique to create these splashes of color across the body. It is couture, quite literally dressed up as a painting. And to be honest, the fact that nobody wore a piece from this collection to the Met Gala this year is a crime, like an actual crime. Somebody call me next time. Also in this room is the Performance of Sculptures, which is another collection that leans directly into art history references. It is also one of the clearest examples in the. So also in this room we have Bedtime Story, the Ready to Wear Fall Winter 2005 collection, and the Immaculate Collection Haute Couture Fall Winter 2018. I mean, every piece in this room was just absolutely stunning. No words. So, in this next room, we'll call it room 4. It is this gigantic room that feels like a ballroom, and you have all of the pieces spinning on these raised platforms like dancers themselves. And it features various pieces from various collections. So, we have a lot of pieces from Fashion Statements, their Haute Couture Spring Summer 2019 collection, which is essentially social media statements printed directly onto couture gowns. You also have pieces from the New Royals, Haute Couture Fall Winter 2021, and Cutting Edge Couture, Van Gogh Girls, which pulls motifs straight out of Van Gogh's paintings, florals, straw hats. And that floral motif becomes actually a recurring theme that they return to again and again throughout their career. And there's a handful of other pieces scattered throughout this room beyond just these. It's packed with more than just the headliners for sure. I will say pieces from Fashion Statements were not my favorites. I don't necessarily love the dresses in that collection. Like I said, it's social media like esque statements printed flat onto these gowns, and I definitely understand and appreciate what they were trying to do with this collection. It's kind of like this juxtaposition. I just think the dresses were kind of ugly, I'm not gonna lie, but do love the concept. This room is so grandiose. Like, it felt like it literally took my breath away, just being able to look at these pieces up close. Just the energy of the room, the music playing, it was curated so well. Honestly, cute dress if it was right side up. This was just, it was such an experience, you guys. I can't even, the videos don't do it justice. I can't even begin to describe it. I think most people know Viktor and Rolf from their perfumes, and this next room is an entire dedication to that. Years ago, the Torch Gallery in Amsterdam invited Viktor and Rolf to build an exhibit of their own designs, and what they created was an entire miniature version of the fashion world, which featured a set, a photo session, a catwalk show, a store, and even a fragrance counter, all built at a smaller scale. And sitting inside of that installation was Les Parfums, the only full size pieces in the entire setup. And it is a critique of how the fashion industry sells an image rather than reality. A life size perfume bottle sealed completely shut with wax, impossible to actually open. You can look, but you can never have it. 6 years after Les Parfums, Viktor and Rolf released Flower Bomb, their ready to wear spring summer collection of 2005, and also one of their best selling perfumes of all time. Les Parfums was basically a foreshadowing in its own punchline. They had been dreaming of releasing their own fragrance for some time by this point. I've actually been a Flower Bomb wearer for quite some time now. I absolutely love that perfume, and now it just has a whole new meaning to it now that I know the backstory behind it and more about the creators. I don't have too much to say about this next part here. I was just really taking everything in. This part of the room just features various pieces from various collections once again. And I mean, just take a look at some of these pieces here, guys. Like, the amount of detail and just creativity that they put into these works is truly something to be admired. I don't know why they aren't talked about more in the world of fashion and haute couture, because I mean, they really have they really are like the definition of whimsy. I know that term is so overly used right now, but their designs really are just so whimsical, and they are masters of pushing the needle forward and thinking outside of the box. And we really just don't see that as often these days in the world of haute couture. Now, moving into this moody and meditative room, also one of my favorites, this is the Zen Garden collection. This collection marked their return to haute couture after a 13-year break. They have said that they wanted to leave the fast paced world of fashion behind, stop chasing deadlines, and do things entirely on their own terms. And the collection itself features an entire line of black clothing, all from the same material, but every piece is cut differently. And the staging matched the concept perfectly. The room is covered in raked pebbles like an actual Zen garden, and I believe it is based off of a real Zen garden in Japan. After over a decade away, it feels less like a comeback and more of a statement of intent. So after the Zen Garden room, we'll move into what we'll call the performance room, because this room is a showcase of their work outside of the runway. So there are different pieces and behind the scenes materials, clips from the theater, ballet, and opera productions that they've designed for. It can be easy to forget, or maybe you don't even know how much of their output lives outside of the runway entirely, and this room makes that case very well. Long before sustainability was a marketing buzzword, Viktor and Rolf were upcycling. This part of the exhibit features pieces from collections built entirely around that idea, like Spiritual Glamour, their Haute Couture Fall Winter 2019 collection, Haute Fantasy, Haute Couture Spring Summer 2021, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Haute Couture Spring Summer 2017. Each one repurposes scraps and pieces from past collections or even other designers into something new, proof that they were treating their own archive as raw material long before it was something trendy to do. So over here, we have a room that kind of pulls back the curtain a bit. There are some more upcycled pieces. There are also footage of past catwalk shows, clips of celebrities wearing their work in music videos such as Cardi B, Jennifer Lopez, Lady Gaga, and a wall of original sketches from Victor and Rolf themselves. It is such a great way to see the gap between an idea on paper and the final execution. There's also some there's also a collection of photography from Inez and Vinud, the duo who have shot every single advertising campaign that Victor and Rolf have ever put out. There was also a beautiful young lady sitting in the corner in this super cute red outfit drawing sketches. It was just such a perfect addition to the exhibit. I didn't get her permission to film, so I moved the camera away fast. I just so happened to catch her. But what an amazing thing to just catch. So technically, this last room actually sits next to the big ballroom, as we've called it, the big fashion statements room. But I actually walked past it the first time and I almost missed it. But it might actually be my favorite room in the entire exhibition. This room is centered on dolls, their Haute Couture Spring Summer 2012 collection, and also features action dolls, Haute Couture 2017. The concept behind these dolls is absolutely incredible. Victor and Rolf recreate every single runway look in miniature, roughly 65 centimeters tall, using Victorian style porcelain dolls rather than something more modern like Barbie or Bratz, for example, which I'm pretty sure are patented so they wouldn't be able to. But that choice is absolutely deliberate. The old fashioned doll creates this clear contrast against their very modern designs. In their own words, the goal is to, quote, transform the ephemeral that is often associated with fashion into something more permanent, unquote. Fashion is famously temporary, especially in today's world where we have fast fashion on the rise. A look exists for one show, one season, and then it's gone. And something really interesting to note is that recreating a look for one of these dolls can take even longer than making the full-size couture version. Each one can take about 3 weeks or more, but the detail does not stop there. Every doll is hand signed by the model who originally wore the look down the runway, with the collection name, a limited edition number, and the signature of the doll maker himself, Mr. B. Terry. And then over here in the corner, we have the action dolls, and they specifically draw from MA1 bomber jackets and patchwork detailing. As tempting as it is to gush over how cute these dolls are, Victor and Rolf do not. Victor and Rolf actually take these dolls very seriously. They said it themselves, quote, "Our dolls are not cute or funny, and they are not to be played with." Unlike some of their other collections, these are not a joke. These are not meant to be playful or whimsical. Like I said, they're very serious business. This collection here, Action Dolls, specifically draws from MA1 bomber jackets and patchwork detailing. In the full collection, there is a ton of diversity in hairstyles, skin tones, and cultural references, even at a tiny scale. But these two dolls featured here, you can see that they are multicultural. They have multiple skin tones patchworked into them. In the runway show, the models wore these oversized heads for most of the presentation, only revealing themselves at the very end. Absolute cinema. I love the drama. So, back to the question from the beginning. Are Victor and Rolf artists using fashion as their medium, or are they fashion designers who just happen to think like artists? Honestly, I'm not sure that there's a difference, or maybe the fact that I can't answer that plainly is exactly the reaction they're going for. But to be honest, they've made it very clear that they are both. So everything I covered today is really just scratching the surface, guys. There's so much more depth to their archive, their process, and their philosophy that I could ever fit into this 15-minute video. So if any of this stuck with you, if you're interested in any of this, I really encourage you to dig in deeper on your own into Victor and Rolf. Which brings me to this. This is Fashion Statements, the actual book sold at the exhibition. It is packed with behind the scenes details and direct quotes from Victor and Rolf themselves. And a lot of the deeper context in this video came straight from this book. The High Museum exhibition has since closed, but if you'd like to go a little bit deeper than I did today, this book is a great place to start. You can buy it online. Let me know in the comments where you land on the big question. Is fashion art? I honestly think sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just functionality. In Victor and Rolf's case, it is definitely fashion. But I want to hear what you think. If you like this video, hit subscribe. Got more exhibition vlogs, runway reviews, and style breakdowns coming. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.